Good afternoon, everybody. We hope everybody is having fun in the market this week. We've had quite a bit of upside with Trump making deals in China and the Middle East, but looks like the market took a little dip just now. My name is Michael Como. I'm director of
We
content.
see why.
I don't know yet why. If anybody knows why the market just dipped, pop it in the chat and let us know. But Adam is going to share some ideas he likes. We're going to answer some questions and get to the bottom of all that's going on in this market. So, Adam, you've been having fun this week?
It's been calm. Just calm. Yesterday, today was a little choppy for me. The first couple of days were good. A lot of the smaller caps that I like to trade have done well, which is fun.
Okay, now, do you think? I think the big question is like, do the trade deals themselves matter much, or is it just the market just wants less uncertainty?
I think the trade deals matter. What the deal is versus less uncertainty. Yeah, they want to know we're moving in a positive direction. We're willing to compromise. I was saying the other day, I don't know what bad news there could be now. I know it's a dangerous thing to say, but like what would we be worried about now?
I mean, I guess China backing off, or I don't know. I guess now, I mean, it does seem like the market might be underpricing any kind of bad news because it seems like we're the polar opposite of early April when everything was just priced for downside, and now we've seen, everything risk on has gone up like crazy. Gold has fallen apart. So it seems like fear, it disappeared very, very quickly.
Yeah, my number on the Qs was 500, and once we got through that, I became like, all right, now I really don't know.
Okay, do you have any sense of how much more upside there could be in the market?
No, that's my thing. My level was 500 for the Qs. That's what I was watching, and I said, if we get through that, the next resistance I see is the all-time highs, which is just crazy to think about.
Okay, why is that crazy to think about?
Because we were just at 405 on the Qs, down 25%, and literally, I think the market would have to feel like Trump won in order to be back where we are. And I guess that's what happened, because if at the end of the day, even if we settle on 10%, that's better than it was, right? We were at 0.
I think I don't know if we were at 0, but 10 is higher.
I think we were at 0.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't followed all the details, but I mean, also our earnings season turned out way better than expected, and now there's all these deals flowing through the Middle East, so it's like buoying, Nvidia and that whole AI space. So I want to get into the stocks you still like. So we talked about Uber a couple of weeks ago. It's up about almost 15%. Since then, you named it your stock of the year. Do you still like Uber?
Definitely still like Uber. Do you still like Uber? Have you enjoyed being in it? Are you still in it?
I think I'm up about $160. So I am having a good time in Uber. I have almost enough to buy one shoe. But
well, I assume you didn't put a lot in, right?
I think I might have bought 20 shares, 50 shares, something, not a lot.
So you could have done this cheaper with options, like the trade we made in Mesh Prime. We bought the 75 calls for December, and just to give you, let me just look. Yeah, those are worth. We bought them for $14.30. So did you put in like $1,000 into Uber?
Probably 2,000 or 3,000. I don't remember exactly.
Right. So we put $1,400 in at 75, and those are worth 21 and change. So you'd be up $700. Should have done the option instead of the stock.
So great. You gotta make me feel bad.
No, I'm just trying to educate.
Yeah, well, it was a situation where it's the kind of stock I just want to like put away and forget about. Like if things go bad, if it dropped enough, I would just chuck it. But it's like the type of stock I just want to leave and forget about, and wake up in 5 years and maybe it's at $500 or something then.
It is crazy how much we've come back though. It's a little hard to recognize. The Qs were 405. Now they're above 500.
And it happened fast.
Very fast.
Yeah, I mean, it's the age old tale. It's like buy when there's blood in the streets, but it's never that easy to do when it's actually happening.
No, I think overall we traded it well. I'm happy with how I traded everything.
Okay, so what were you buying when things were down?
Uber, Meta, Amazon, JP Morgan, CrowdStrike. That was long term. That's like in a long term strategy stuff. And this, I still was trading Uber in my portfolio. We were collecting premium in a lot of stuff. Bitcoin's been great. So that Bitto I told you about has been really good. Core Z was at 6 and change. It hit 1050, 1060 today. So that's up almost over 50%, over 60%. SoFi came back up. Let's see what else. ASTS we traded. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So you and I were texting back and forth about like stuff you like. Now it was interesting. I thought one of the interesting ones you pointed out was Rocket Mortgage. RKT. Yesterday, Citron came out saying super, super bullish, calling it like the Amazon of housing. So what do you like about RKT?
So that Citron report talking about how the AI company they bought, was going to transform it. It was very bullish, short term. They were putting like that frenzy crowd in. And when you have a frenzy crowd, like meme kind of crowd in a strong market, these stocks are going to react well. If it's not a strong market, they won't. And so you saw Citron pump it yesterday, and the volume flew in and the price held. Today, all of a sudden, it was looking down, down, down. One move shoots all the way back up. And then now the market turned a little weak. So now that's going to get hit because, a little bit. But overall, I like when the volume swells into a stock and the price holds. The longer the price can hold with the volume swelling, the more of a significant move you can have.
Okay. All right, let's talk about Core Z, because Core Z is another one you named. You've talked about it many, many times. It sounds like you've done well with it. What do you like about Core Z?
So Core Z was like a poor man's Core Weave play. There were a lot of people betting on both sides of Core Weave, and the Core Z deals they had, the fundamentals were that just based on its deals with Core Weave, it was a $12 stock trading at $6. Like literally, like that was their value. So they were trading under par on the idea that Core Weave will fail. So the better that Core Weave did, Core Z responded in kind. It was a cheaper stock to trade. I will say, with the thesis being that it was going to get to 12, I did lighten up. I had in options, which means it was a lot. I had $35,000 in options invested in it, and now that is down to 18,000. So I sold half my position on the move because I don't need it to get to 12. I just need to get close to 12.
Okay, and FYI, Core Weave reports earnings after the close today.
Yes.
Hold on, just 1 second. I have somebody talking in my ear right now. Okay. All right. Okay. Another one. SUN Soundhound, which was that's an AI name that gets like super hot and super cold. What are you seeing there?
Meanwhile, that hit 1239 today, so that was a great shout out to you yesterday. Closing at 986, so that was a huge move. Wait, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Sorry, didn't close at 986. It closed at 1126, hit 1265 today. That was again the volume flowing in at an unusual rate, combined with the price holding on the news. That one was news.
Yeah. Okay. And just
yeah. And by the way, it's an interesting conversation where Ron said, "What goes up must come down." That's not the stock market.
okay. Why not?
I'd be willing to talk about that more, Ron. But historically, the market hits all-time highs. You know, it doesn't hit all-time lows. So over time, the market goes up. So I don't want to. I just want to be careful not to, indicate otherwise.
No. I think that's clear.
No, I like the audience, and no, but I also, just to have a fair conversation, I wouldn't say what goes down must come up, because what drives up is not always the stocks that you want them to.
Yeah, I mean, we've all. I know I've held stocks for. Like, I don't know how long I owned Nike during a bull market where the market's going straight up. And I have this quote unquote great company. And yeah, I don't even know why. Like, sometimes that makes it worse. It's like the idea that like other people are making money or whatever, just like thinking about, the FOMO is just so silly. But yeah, there are, I mean, PayPal, I think probably hasn't done anything in forever. But yeah, remember when Microsoft went something like 10 years doing absolutely nothing? And then they got their whole like cloud business together and it skyrocketed.
Yeah, but remember when AOL was the best internet stock?
Yeah. It's funny.
And that never came back.
Yeah.
I know, Ron. I honestly though, I know you're joking, and Ron's great. I literally was just thinking about the comment because I was like, no, it feels like that for some stocks, like the cheaper the stock, the less significant, but the bigger names, like that. It's an interesting thing, like to think like if you think like MSTR would be a great one. If you're like, oh, MSTR must come down, you could have gotten in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I do think one of the biggest mistakes is the thought that something is too high or it's too expensive. Because at a certain point, like if a stock's trading at, let's say a stock is, I mean, Palantir is the perfect example of this, where at 100 times earnings, people are saying it's overvalued. Then it goes to 110, 120, right. And now it's up to like 220 or 240.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough because I think the natural thought of this process is we have to give back a little bit. I think anyone who watches the market every day, who sees what kind of rally we just had, is probably sitting there thinking, we got to give back some of these gains. There's got to be some trimming, some profit taking, and there's just not. And it's come up a lot fast. And the fact that there's no, I think it's just that crowd mentality, like the crowd you would think is always wrong. And so I think the natural thought here is we have to give back some of these gains. And I think until that thought switches and the market makes you feel like we're going to go up forever, buy everything, that's when it will come down.
Yeah. Well,
that's weird. That's literally just like the psychology of the market. Like,
I think
isn't everyone thinking the same thing right now? Aren't you all thinking like, we gotta get back some of these things?
Yeah, I think it's Yeah, I think it's a good question. Like
you just passed on Palantir at 85. You're going to buy it up here at 130?
I know I
Like a couple
sold.
of weeks ago. A couple of weeks ago it was 85. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to buy it here? I don't think so.
Yeah, I listen. I was having the conversation with myself yesterday because I sold Nvidia like around 100, and like I got it right near months ago. I got it like right at the bottom and took it from like 86 to 100, something like that, and sold it at 100. Felt smart at the time, and then yesterday I'm looking at it at like 130 or 128, like itching to hit the button. But yeah, I think that it's the market does seem designed to like play mind games on us at all times. But yeah, I mean, it is interesting though. It seems like it's easier to know when everybody's like depressed rather than when detecting real elation. Because like in early April, we saw like the VIX is at 60 and the sentiment indicators are like off the charts bearish. All the headlines are bearish. And now it's like moderating, but it's so hard to tell when everybody's too bullish. It's like like because I've done a lot of like data analysis on sentiment, and it's so hard to time the market based on people being too positive or the market, because it's like when the market makes one record high, it often makes a bunch of them. They don't just happen like once.
Right. No, the whole idea that the market can remain irrational longer than you can remain yeah, right? What is that?
The market can remain irrational longer than you can remain solvent.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's true.
But I mean, like, I'm sort of just thinking out loud here. Is the market ever rational? Or, I mean, is it even like, is it even, I mean, it's just the market is a reflection of people's emotions. So to even assume it could ever be rational just like makes no sense. Like if the market was rational, it would be smoother. But it's like big declines can come out of nowhere. Huge rallies can come out of nowhere.
Well, I think let's go back to the very first question you asked me, which was, do you still like Uber? Mm-hmm. And I think when you have that kind of micro thinking, you're going to do better. Here's a stock I like. On days where the market's bad, if it looks good, maybe I'll get involved. I'm not going to sell it. I'm going to let it run. If I think the market's going to go up, it's something I'll buy. So when you could gravitate towards individual stocks that you like and you're right about them and the market proves you're right, it's much easier to focus on those stocks than the market.
Yeah, and I do think if the more you look at the market overall, probably the easier it is to just talk yourself out of doing anything. Because if you're going to be looking at headlines and trends, and you'll find reasons to not do anything. Like it's like, I mean, it's like I've also heard the thought that at a certain point being too much intelligence is a bad thing, because you can talk yourself. I mean, like you could take this to anything in life.
Mark said, well, that's part of the problem. If you were in the right issues, you made out very well over the last week. But do you take the profits and try something else, or do you risk your gains being greedy with the success? Right. I don't want to chase what's already gone up, to answer the second part first, Mark. And then with what I'm in, I want to take profits, not on all, but on some. Like Corsi is a great example. I got to move from 6 and change to 10 and change. I got out of half my position. I think I sound smart when I say that, because if we go back down, I sold half. If we go up, I still have some. No matter what, I made the right decision. That's how I like to look at those scenarios. Yeah,
but then do you ever like look at charts over a longer time frame and say, I should have just held it and not even bothered?
course. I mean, you're talking to someone who had 10,000 shares of Netflix at $11. You know, I should have just held that and never traded again. Yeah, who knew? They were a DVD company at the time, in fairness.
Yeah, I went through a similar thing. I like at one point I had like an absurd, like a truly absurd portion of like my net worth in Apple stock, and I sold like 2/3 of it to diversify. Stupidest financial decision I ever made. Like I think everybody's been through that where they bought something at 5, sold it at 10, felt like a genius, and saw it go to 200.
Let's take a look at what else can move the market coming up. I'll give you the announcement, and you tell me yes or no. 5:40 p.m. today, San Francisco Fed President Mary Daly's speech. No. 8:30 in the morning, initial jobless claims. No. 8:30 in the morning, U.S. retail sales. No. Retail sales minus auto. 8:30 producer price index. So there are a lot of numbers tomorrow. What about all three of those combined? 8:30 in the morning, core PPI.
Yeah, but you mix all three together and you get a wash.
Unless they all come the same way. 8:40 Fed Chairman Jerome Powell speech. 9:15 industrial production. 10 o'clock business inventories, home builder confidence index. That one maybe. Michael Barr speech 2:05. I don't know. What could send the market? You know, we knew that first the 90-day pause would send the market higher. Then we knew that improved talks with China would send the market higher. I guess more deals getting done sends the market higher. What sends the market lower?
I mean, like, it does feel like the ball. It is interesting that it's a 90-day push off on the tariff stuff with China, because we also just had like a very good earnings season. A ton of companies pulled guidance, but that wasn't a surprise. So it's weird that because we sort of have like around 60 days until the next earnings season, 90 days. I assume like the tariff headlines will start coming in heavy probably 60 days from now. So the next 2 months could be really weird, where people are just waiting for something to break or something amazing to happen. It could be, I wonder if NVIDIA somehow magically comes out with super crazy guidance because of all these deals that are happening now. That's a possibility.
When is that?
I believe.
What is the earnings calendar?
The 28th, so 2 weeks from today. But I mean, earnings season is basically in the bag. CPI just came in light. We don't have the Fed for a little while, so could we actually have like a bit of a snooze fest where could we have like a little vacation from the craziness for a few weeks?
I think so.
I think like strategically on Trump's part, it would probably work well.
Hold on one sec. I'm sorry. One sec. Hello. I don't know.
I'm going to mute you. Okay. Yeah. So there is a chance. So Adam's taking an important call. So there is a chance, I think, the market could maybe get a little bit boring, which would probably be good strategy on Trump's part. We got Adam?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, yeah. So I was just saying, I think it might be good strategy on Trump's part to like quiet down a little bit after all the he's been on a roll the last few days. Do you think it would be good for him to like chill for a little bit and let things settle in?
No, I don't think that would happen anyhow. I mean, he's sorry, having it all day. He believes, that he has a divine mission. So I feel like he treats every day as if it's the most important. I really do. I've never seen, I'm talking about the amount of action, the amount of things. Doesn't it feel like there's a lot more happening every single day?
Yeah,
every single day.
I messaged somebody on Slack that I feel like Trump is almost doing like too much stuff. But you know what the funny thing is? It seems like he likes being president more than anybody has enjoyed being president. It seems like a miserable, shitty job, but I feel like it's making him younger.
I mean,
I'll say this. I've never seen anybody that is more comfortable in the midst of chaos than him.
I mean, the trade tariffs looks like a genius move. It looks like he's winning that. It really does. I mean, Pete Rose just got allowed back into baseball along with Shoeless Joe Jackson. I think he probably had something to do with that too.
Maybe he can like.
Did you see the audio of there was an audio dialogue of his phone call with Edom Alexander, the hostage that was released?
No, I didn't listen.
Oh yeah, he's like, we're really happy you're home. Thanks, Steve Witkoff. Well, actually, it was really me, but I'm going to let Steve take the credit for this one. It's just like,
oh, that's like when he says, "I'm not going to say something" right before he says it.
That's literally like my friend called me and was like, "Hey, I have one spot in a golf outing, and it's yours if you want it, or you could give it to your buddy because I think it would be good for him for business." So I was like, "Give it to my buddy," and then I had to call my buddy and let him know. By the way, I gave you my spot. Like I had to let him know. That's how like the president is, but like for much bigger issues, it's crazy.
Are you the show? Is the show with Larry David the Larry David show? Oh,
Curb Your Enthusiasm. Curb Your Enthusiasm.
I've never watched it, but did you see there's a clip with him and Ted Danson? And they're at like a charity auction and they're not supposed to be bragging about like all the charitable things they do. But Ted Danson basically leaks to everybody that he's like giving all this money to charity. So everybody loves him.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. How funny is that? I mean,
okay. So do you think we're going to look back at this crazy time and view Trump as the mastermind who basically played everybody?
Yeah.
Because we had.
Well, I'm talking about for the tariffs.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot that's still unwritten. I'm concerned about. Well, he did just talk about lowering drug prices, which would be great. But I want to make sure that there's still a lot of money for medical research, and that's important. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like I speak to doctors who are concerned, and so I don't like that when I speak to doctors who say like, there might not be any new trials, if the budgets are cut. That scares me because, we're at the forefront of like, we're not far from like major breakthroughs, like the mRNA science that was used to create the COVID vaccine. And I'm sure people, crazy story about that, but I don't know if that's a good thing. But like, I've read how mRNA technology, like is like curing brain tumors, but not consistently. And they come back. But like, for me, that's near and dear to my heart. And if it could work and they could actually get to that technology, and we need to keep funding that stuff. So.
Yeah, I mean, the US, like, we still are the real innovator. I mean, it's such a double-edged sword being in the United States, because healthcare can be such a mess here. Even if you have good insurance, healthcare can be a nightmare. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure I don't know, people can correct me in the chat, but I'm pretty sure we're the most innovative country when it comes to developing new medicines, new medical technologies. I still feel like we're pretty much it. I mean, how often do you hear about people? I mean, like, there's hospitals here in New York with entire wings dedicated to serving rich people from other countries. Like, I've never heard of anybody going from the US to like Canada to get to get important surgery.
Right. I mean, yeah, we just got to make sure that we keep innovating. That's the thing, is that we've always been the world's best customer. So we're like playing hardball and getting better terms, but you want everyone to want our business, and you want to be the world's best customer that everyone wants to make happy. So I think if he leaves it as it is and starts now considering to negotiate and making deals, then we showed everyone to appreciate us. Everyone said we do. They've realized maybe not to take us for granted as much. And if we could leave it like that and come out on top without alienating them, you don't want to drive business through other countries, like, because if your number one buyer wasn't buying as much, what would you do? You'd go out and find other customers. And if you could make the same amount of money with all these different customers, then that customer becomes less important to you. And we don't want that to happen. And I don't think it will, but
Yeah, I mean, I do hope we move to a world where trade is just simpler and makes more sense. Because, like, with all these countries with different tariffs on each other, like perfect example, like, why do so many, like, my sister used to work in a mall in Las Vegas, and she said that there would be buses full of tourists coming here to buy stuff that they can't get in their countries. Like things like that. Or also, I knew somebody that worked for like the Ecuadorian government, was always flying back and forth, and she would like be bringing suitcases of clothes that her relatives couldn't buy in Ecuador. So I feel like there could be so much more business going back and forth between countries if it wasn't for.
That's what Mark just said. There's a possibility that many other countries may secure favorable deals before China tries to finalize the deal out in August, and then they get a worse deal. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I do feel like everybody agrees the current situation is not working. And I think that's across the board in everything. Like, pretty much everything in the economy, like, unless you're super rich, it does kind of feel like nothing works.
And it does still feel like that problem hasn't been solved. Like, if you want to look at NIC prices for playoff games, you can't tell me that inflation isn't real when you look at what it costs to get into the Garden right now.
Or if you, okay, so.
And how much it costs to buy food at the Garden.
Yeah, or think about this, like like, I've heard plenty of people talk about this, like, even during regular season, if you have a family of 4 that wants to go to a baseball game, so 4 crappy tickets cost a fortune. The food is insane, plus parking. Have you seen, like, the parking prices are ridiculous? People can't afford to do anything. I mean,
right. So, that's relevant.
Yeah, absolutely. But I got eggs yesterday for $4.99 a dozen, which felt like a miracle. I didn't think that was going to happen again.
But I think in terms of the market, getting back to the market, we can't find a reason for us to go down in the near term, a strong reason for a massive sell-off. You never know what will happen. We can't we do think there are some things that could cause us to go a little bit higher, like we saw the headlines today, the deals being made, other countries giving us money. But we're through the last resistance. The next stop is all-time highs, and you can't be short if we hit there. So it's tough. What do you do now? Are you going to buy up here? I'm not a financial advisor, so I'm not adding to my long-term portfolios up here.
Okay. Are you doing anything shorter term?
Yeah, I'm trading a little bit, but like trying to trade a little bit lighter and less now. My Mesh Prime portfolio is at its all-time highs. We actually ran into a really good problem where some of our hedges got run through, where we'll probably be taken out for a profit if we don't roll, but that's a good problem. These are things we were down on that we came all the way back on and then went through our strikes. So
okay, so what are the names you've been in Mesh Prime that have been driving that?
URA came all the way back up. It was, I think, below 20. Now it's at 28. So that was a significant move. BITO was at like 18. That came back up to 21 and change. MBST was at 120. It hit 360 the other day. JMIA came back up from 2 and change to 3 and change. Uber is through our short strike, but I mean, we're up over $1,000 in that on 1 or 2 contracts. So we're going to be fine. It's just, it's just then the profit will get cut off a little bit. Pretty much anything we're in. But those are good problems. We're up at our highs.
It's a good place to be.
Yeah. So either we stop now on money or the market comes back a little bit and we're in a better position.
All right. Okay. I think that's a good note to close out on. So guys, there's a link below. If you want to get a free look at what Mesh Prime is all about, click the link down in the description below and you could learn about everything that's in Mesh Prime. Okay, Adam, fun as always. And we'll be back next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, hopefully. Everybody,
give everyone a chance to kick the link real quick.
Yeah, make sure, guys.
That's for Mesh Prime?
Yep. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We're doing a call at a special time tomorrow, 1:30, because I have something in the morning, or 1:15. So, yeah, if you haven't joined this, definitely come check it out. It's the only service I do. It's at its all-time highs, and everyone loves it. And it keeps growing every month, getting more popular. I'm excited about that.
Okay. All right. So very quickly before we go, so why are you only doing one service right now?
So the whole idea was, in the past, I had run a bunch of different services. One was credit spreads, other was the diagonals, the other was covered calls, the other was just straight calls and puts. And it felt disingenuous that I couldn't just do whatever trade I thought was best at the time. So after I sold the business 4 years later, got it back, I was like, I want to trade in an environment where I only put on what I think is the absolute best trade for everybody. So one group, whatever trade I want. And it's been unbelievable because, like just yesterday, one trade we put on diagonal calendar, the other we did a credit spread. We have covered calls on. We could do whatever we want. We're not limited by the burden of having to fulfill the description of the service. So
it almost sounds like you're running. It's like a virtual hedge fund almost for people to follow.
It's like a portfolio for people that want to trade for themselves, but it's just good ideas, good execution. It works for everyone. Like if you want to learn, then you're spoon-fed trades, and if you just want good ideas, you get them. So
awesome. Okay, all right, Adam. Thank you very much, everybody. We will be back next week. Have fun out there.
All right, bye, Mike.